Right, click the links, join the channel here, or check out the Odyssey, Bit Chute, and Rumble. So, Last of Us, a BLT dystopian nightmare that ultimately ends in two characters self-deleting. Or why stories need to kill off all the gay characters, which I don't think that'll fly for a YouTube title. And Last of Us reclaims the queerness its world forgot. Fabulous. First of all, I totally agree with our lizard puppet masters that we definitely need more BLT stuff in everything, especially to push it on the kids. I'm sure that will create a successful nation and not just a nightmare commercial zone country ruled by NGOs and unelected masters. So these two or three articles are all interconnected. This one goes, let the BLT characters be happy. I feel like writing a Substack and go, no, here's why they have to be miserable for storytelling purposes. And the thing is, like, if you even want to have that honest back and forth, you'd have a tough time doing it if you were if you had some kind of bigger social media footprint where it would get, the Mary Sue would pay attention to it. And like, this person wants the BLT characters to be miserable. Yes, from a storytelling perspective, it actually makes sense. So the whole thing is a fascinating concept of who gets who has to be the I don't know, the fall guy. It's not exactly protagonist antagonist, but it's like where you need someone to kind of be deleted out of a story to show that the stakes are real. It's like, well, who is going to be who's gonna have to be deleted in a story to show that it is a real story. There are like things matter in the story. It's like, oh well, it kind of has to be those characters, and you say that to them, and it doesn't go over. It wouldn't go over well if I had a bigger social media footprint. So this is thank God you have such a small channel. Yeah, thank God. So this is a fascinating concept, but the problem is in presenting it in a way that is allowed, obviously, on YouTube, because word combinations and hot word. YouTube is not getting my delicate nuance, which is I love the gays, which is really now they should change their name to Corporate Tube because it's not YouTube anymore. That's like Rumble and Odyssey are. I like Odyssey is actually a little bit better than Rumble, but there's so many people on Rumble. It's like YouTube was 10 years ago. I say that because Rumble still goes through the App Store, where Odyssey doesn't. And on it, like honestly, you don't need an app for any one of these things. You can just use the. I don't use the app for either one of them, or for Gab or anything. It's like you just use the internet URL and it works perfectly fine. So the article mentions that BLT characters are abused in storytelling, and here's why they kind of have to be. And yeah, I know how that sounds, but there's kind of no way around that. But I mean from a storytelling perspective. Queer characters used as sort of, I guess, the fall guys, and just let them be happy. But in storytelling, it's better to have them be the ones who are eaten by the zombies, the ones who just can't quite run fast enough, so they get left behind. Or the bears, or sacrifice them to the warlord motorcycle cannibals. So even I say this, I envision like people just, I can't imagine that would go over well in modern storytelling. In the back of a truck and like, here, take the gays. Yeah, that probably wouldn't go over too well. So here's the thing, because if you invert it, if the two BLT people survive and they ride off in the sunset to presumably rebuild society and join a small town, how are they going to do that? You got the two BLT women, they go set up a new civilization, so they team up with other, queer characters, and they hunt and gather and they farm, whatever it takes to rebuild society, and then they get old and die because there's no future generations. Because how can there be? They're not procreating. We're gonna tell an entirely BLT story, and the editor just looking at the writers. I'm like, so there's gonna not be a sequel. What do you mean? Because they're all BLT. How is that gonna work? It like, what is it? Spontaneous. I don't know. Like in American Chavez, with the two lesbian moms go in an egg and they just scissor together, and they make a new life form that way. Okay, I mean, usually you call one male and female, but whatever. I mean, it's just like, oh, this is just like, it's clown world, and every time you look outside, it just gets more and more clowny out. So the thing is, it doesn't make for a compelling story to see our heroic couple not have a big family and create a tribe. That's storytelling 101 for the past million years. They just farm until they get too old, and then they starve to death to be eaten by their cats. because there's nobody to take care of them. That's an incredibly depressing story. It is not the path to take in storytelling, but it also seems to be the path that is constantly pushed in mainstream storytelling, comics, movies, video games, wherever they're telling stories. They're always kind of, you look at them, I feel like raising the hand and going, so I want a story where we don't see that. I want a more classical nationalist story of a tribal people, and I don't want to see the BLT themes at all. I want to see one group of people. I was just thinking about this earlier, like, can I just get a story of like the European people, blonde-haired, blue-eyed or green-eyed European people, just just them in a story, and they're married, and they're tribal, and they have kids, and they form tribes together, and they go off and conquer and do whatever they do. Like, can I just get that story? And you look around mainstream Hollywood and realize even to frame that question is, oh, that's really problematic, because anything that's not globalism is nationalism, and to them they've successfully conflated those terms of nationalism, tribalism, with a bunch of other hot words that I can't say on YouTube. And you go like, that's been the human experience of tribes since we came down from the trees 10 million years ago. And suddenly it's problematic to say, yeah, that 10 million history is problematic. It's like, really? Because it got us to where we are now, and suddenly you're saying, oh, we need to, no, we need to destroy all that. Yeah, I think we're headed for dark days if we can't even have can't even have these kind of conversations. So the narrative that is being pushed is obviously pro BLT, which is, let me get to the other article. This, I'm waving my hands like you can see it. The narrative of it's kind of a '90s movie cliche with Robin Williams, like kind of La Cage aux Folles kind of vibe. It's like in the '90s they made a bunch of these BLT movies, and I kind of doubt that the main actors were actually BLT. I remember that one, and then oh God, there's like Priscilla something, Queen of the Desert with Wesley Snipes before he. I know he was doing Blade and doing this, and I don't know. I don't think I even saw that one actually. But I remember that there seemed to be kind of they were trying to normalize the BLT stuff in the '90s, and you look around and you realize, yeah, they successfully have, and that's probably a conversation for Bit Chute, Rumble, and Odyssey. Anyway, I mean, it's fine the way they present it in this story. If like this is what you're gonna do, it's what you're gonna do. That's fine. It's a tone they want to set, and they sort of have a scene in The Stand from a Stephen King where the MOON is Moon Guy sets up a bunch of toys outside a store, and he's trying to create a little bit of normalcy in this post-apocalyptical situation. And then he teams up with the who's that guy? I want to say the guy who played the deaf mute character. No, he's not Robert Downey Jr. Not Christian. I don't remember the guy. Robert. Okay. Anyway, I don't remember the guy's name, but that was just a pretty decent movie too. So let's break down what they're really pushing when they show these two men who get sick, and then in a stunning and brave version of BLT romance, decide to check out of Hotel Mortal Coil using a bottle of wine and some central nervous system depressants. So the narrative, the punchline seems to be pretty dark when you actually. I mean, it's death. But it's not just the ending that the mutual benzo bottle of wine, it's the whole portrayal of two guys who are taken out of their tribe, two guys who won't be fathers and grandfathers. They won't be connected with their family really, or their greater tribal family. They're kind of removed themselves from the interconnected spider web of life. And I'm saying from a storytelling perspective, I know that probably none of you people are BLT who are listening to this, but I mean from I don't know if this comes out harsh. I don't mean it to be. From a storytelling perspective, that's all I'm saying is it doesn't really fly from a story. Do the people exist? Yeah, but the portrayal of them is kind of the issue. It's like they're always going to be BLT people, but does it really sell when you're trying to do this kind of thing? And I'm not like if like in the '90s before they started to normalize all this stuff. These kind of stories would be self-selecting. It would be for their own community. They would have their own books and movies and small low budget movies. They weren't trying to take it out to the mainstream. Like, I mean, you saw with the Disastrous Bros where they tried to push that out in the mainstream, and that was like a $40 million loss, because you were peering behind the curtain of this community, and it's like it just doesn't. It's the reason it's its own community. You can't like not. It's this big concept of globalism versus nationalism, where like they think everything has to be for all things for all people, and I look and I go, no. You need to. Different things need to be for different people, and even to say that has them just lose their mind about, oh, you're all fashionable people if you don't want don't want us to intrude into your, your storytelling universe. It's like, but you guys have your own storytelling. Yeah, but we're marginalized and oppressed. Yeah, we feel we're marginalized and oppressed also. I mean, once you go into that appeal to emotion, it's like, in Joker, on Joker Planet, it's like none of this matters. So I'm not saying anything dark and nefarious here. It's just that it seems, well, I guess a little bit dark. It seems like the left-hand sinister path. It's not the right-hand path that, we've tried to follow roughly for 10 million years of tribe and family and ascending, ascending to the stars. Those days are gone forever, actually. So it always reminds me of that life versus death ruins, the peace symbol, which they kind of normalized, I guess, in the 60s, which means actually death. But if you turn it upside down, it means life. It's like it looks roughly like a tree or a guy with his arms outstretched, ascending to the spiritual, ascending to space, to colonizing other planets, to life, to being, rooted in the soil, but reaching for something greater. And then I don't know, the 50s and 60s, when they brought that peace symbol, it's like, haha, we fooled the normies because it's the death symbol. It's like, no, it needs peace. It's like, yeah, it doesn't. There's a whole thing of symbolism. So the one path is kind of casting a seed in fertile soil, and the other is casting it into a desolate, poison landscape where nothing will grow. Oh my God, bigot! BLT people exist. Yeah, I'm well aware of that because we see it in everything these days. Every form of mainstream media. There seems to be an increasing number of them every year, which makes one wonder if the source, perhaps, you see, like 40% of people under 25 identify as somewhere on that BLT spectrum. Like, really? Really? Or, is it they want attention? Maybe is that possible? Oh, no. Even bring that up is offensive. I'm saying that this increased numbers you're seeing, perhaps it's not like the left-handed syndrome. It's like, well, it just people have been repressing it, and it'll asymptotically approach a limit, and it won't exceed that. Well, it's like, yeah, but left-handedness is organic. It actually exists, and a lot of this stuff you can't point to an organic source for a lot of this stuff. I'm saying, like, perhaps it's not, there's an external cultural driving force and not some innate immutable characteristic, which, speaking of making the trains run on time, brings up kind of a broader question that maybe society should be managed a bit tighter, because otherwise it feels like we're just kind of descending into those biblical times where, anything goes. The angel comes to the door and warns the guy it's time to dip on out of town, and the people want to come sacrifice the angel, and they look back, and sodium chloride, that kind of stuff. It turns out like people really need a guiding force, a religion. You destroy God and you just create this vacuum, and like, oh, what happens? Oh, the Bolsheviks sneak in and just commit acts of atrocities. Which is, puts on the they live glasses, the dystopian nightmare glasses, looks around like nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. At least with the they live stuff, you can kind of start to see this stuff. Anyway, kind of a tricky video to do for YouTube. I'm not sure this is gonna fly. Like, comment, subscribe. Join us over on Rumble, Odyssey, Subscribe Star if you wish, and I will see you guys, or become a member of this channel. That's kind of nice also. I'll see you guys all next video.